It was supposed to be the best birthday I'd ever had. Months of planning, countless messages sent, and a party venue booked. I wanted to celebrate turning 27 with friends and family, people who were supposed to care. But as the hours passed, the silence became deafening. Not a single guest showed up. The balloons hung limp, the cake sat untouched, and the expensive gift wrapped in glossy paper just stared back at me like a cruel joke. I sat there alone in the middle of the empty room, heart sinking with every tick of the clock. I kept telling myself it was just bad timing, or maybe everyone got caught up in something else. But deep down, I knew the truth. I was invisible to them all. And then, just as I was about to give up hope for the night, I saw him, my own brother, wearing the jacket I had unwrapped earlier, a jacket I'd specifically picked out for myself as a birthday gift, something I'd been eyeing for months. There he was, strutting around like it was his prize, like he owned it. A sick feeling twisted in my stomach. It wasn't just the empty room or the forgotten birthday, it was the betrayal staring me right in the face. Because when I looked at him wearing my gift like it was his trophy, I knew this wasn't just a forgotten birthday, it was something much worse. Growing up, I was always the quieter one, the dependable kid who stayed out of trouble, did his homework, and tried to keep the peace. My brother, on the other hand, was the golden child in everyone's eyes. Charismatic, loud, and effortlessly charming, he got away with almost everything. While I was praised for my hard work, he was forgiven for his mistakes, no matter how big. Our parents loved him in a way that made me feel invisible. I remember covering for him more times than I can count, taking the blame when he broke things, staying silent when he lied about where he was. I did it all because I thought that was what family was about: sacrifice, loyalty, and protecting each other no matter what. But the cracks were there even then. I started noticing the way he'd smirk when I struggled to get praise, how he'd belittle my achievements in front of others, making his jokes about me, playing it safe, or living in his shadow. He wasn't just my brother, he was my rival, quietly undermining everything I worked so hard for. There were moments I should have seen for what they were. Times when he'd take credit for things I did, or push me aside when it was convenient. When I brought up my feelings, he'd laugh it off or act like I was overreacting. And the worst part? Our family never called him out. They just let it slide. Through it all, I kept holding on. I thought if I stayed loyal, if I kept trying to make things work, our family would stay whole. I sacrificed my own happiness, my own dreams, just to keep the peace. But looking back now, I realize I was the only one holding us together, while he was already tearing us apart. The birthday party wasn't just a lonely night, it was the latest in a long string of betrayals that had been building for years. After that day, things didn't just get worse, they spiraled into something I couldn't have imagined. Started small. At work, my brother would brag about things I'd done, twisting my hard-earned achievements into his own stories. He'd casually drop my name to make himself look better, acting like I was just some background character in his life. When I corrected people, he'd laugh it off, acting shocked I'd even try to take credit. Rumors started spreading, quiet whispers that I was jealous, that I was the problem. Family members who once offered support began to distance themselves. I'd hear sideways comments about how I was too sensitive or making things up. It wasn't just my brother anymore. The whole family had started to turn. Then came the revelation that cut deepest. I found out my brother had convinced everyone not to come to my birthday party. He twisted stories, painted me as someone no one wanted to be around. The forgetfulness of my family wasn't forgetfulness at all. It was a carefully crafted silence. When I confronted them, I was met with vague excuses and pity, as if I was the one overreacting. Even my closest friends were pulled in. I overheard him on the phone, laughing with them, calling me pathetic, saying I'd never amount to anything without him. That laughter, cold and cruel, felt like a slap across the face. This wasn't sibling rivalry, it was war. Family dinners became battlegrounds. My brother made sure I was the joke, the one to be humiliated quietly in front of everyone. When I tried to stand up, I was gaslit, told I was imagining things, being paranoid. It was exhausting, lonely, and humiliating. But the worst part, the way my family let it happen. They either ignored his cruelty or quietly joined in. No one stepped in to stop him. I was left isolated, doubting myself, watching my world crumble around me. And yet, I held on, hoping this was just a rough patch. I didn't know how far he'd go, or what he was capable of. But when I overheard him laughing with my closest friends, calling me pathetic, I realized it was no accident. This was calculated. But the worst was yet to come. The moment I found out what he'd done, everything inside me shattered. The jacket, the one I had saved up for, the one I was supposed to wear on my birthday, was gone. Sold. And the money? Not for anything important. No, he'd thrown himself a lavish party with it. The same night, I sat alone in a room filled with decorations no one came to see. I didn't need to think twice. I marched straight to him, fueled by a mix of disbelief, anger, and a pain I'd been burying for too long. Why did you sell my jacket? Why would you spend that money on a party for yourself when my birthday was ignored? He looked at me like I was the joke, a twisted smirk spreading across his face. Jealous much? Seriously, you act like you deserve anything. Nobody wanted to show up because they see you for who you are. I blinked. The nerve. That jacket meant something to me. It was my gift to myself, and my birthday deserved more than this, than being forgotten. His laugh was cold, mocking. You're always playing the victim, crying about how no one cares. Maybe it's because you're so damn ungrateful all the time. I felt the heat rising in my chest, but I held my ground. You lied to everyone, twisted their minds against me. You made me feel invisible, like I didn't matter at all. His face hardened with anger. You're the one who's weak, always have been. Pathetic. The insult hit like a slap, but instead of retreating, I stood taller. You know what? I'm done. Done with the lies, the manipulation, the betrayal. I believed in you, but you're not the brother I thought you were. He took a step closer, voice dropping, venom dripping from every word. You'll be back. You always come crawling back when you have nowhere else to go. I met his glare without flinching, calm but fierce. Not this time. I'm walking away. For good. The years of hurt and sacrifice felt like they were crushing down all at once in that room. His mask slipped, revealing the selfish, cruel man underneath all along. But I didn't yell, didn't beg. I simply turned and walked away, leaving him with his empty threats and shattered pride. I walked away that night, heartbroken but stronger, unaware that walking away would only spark a war I wasn't ready for. The aftermath hit like a storm. Once the confrontation spread through family and friends, the lines were drawn. Some tried to stay neutral, but most couldn't ignore the truth anymore. Slowly, my closest allies started reaching out. Texts, calls, even late-night visits, offering support I hadn't dared hope for. One friend messaged, "I always knew he was trouble, but I never wanted to believe it. You're stronger than you think." Even family members who had stayed silent began admitting the cracks they'd seen but never mentioned. "We didn't want to get involved, but you didn't deserve any of this," my cousin confessed. Social media became an unexpected refuge. I watched as imagined Reddit threads and comment sections lit up with stories like mine, people calling out toxic family members, toxic brothers, and the way those closest to us can hurt the most. Comments flooded in. She sold the jacket and threw himself a party? That's next-level selfishness. Good for him for standing up and walking away. Toxic people never change. Family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's the people who treat you right. Meanwhile, my brother's attempts to twist the story back on me fell flat. Rumors he started only dug a deeper hole, exposing how desperate he was to control the narrative. I heard whispers of his frustration, his credibility slipping fast. The moral clarity was undeniable. I was the calm, loyal brother betrayed by someone who cared only about himself. This validation wasn't just comforting, it was empowering. It reminded me that loyalty and respect are never weaknesses, and sometimes walking away is the strongest move you can make. But just when I thought the worst was behind me, a message popped up from someone I never expected, someone who held the final piece of the puzzle. The unexpected message came from someone who had been hurt by my brother before, someone who, like me, was caught in his web of lies and manipulation. They shared stories I hadn't known, patterns of betrayal that stretched far beyond just our family. It was a painful confirmation. This wasn't just about one broken birthday or one stolen jacket. It was a toxic cycle, and my brother had been the architect all along. Knowing I wasn't alone in this gave me strange relief. It showed me that the problem wasn't me. It was him. And finally, that truth set me free. I made the hardest decision, cutting ties completely. No more calls, no more excuses, no more trying to fix something broken beyond repair. I started therapy, learning to rebuild my sense of self from the ground up. Every session helped me reclaim pieces of my worth that I'd buried under years of guilt and misplaced loyalty. Healing wasn't fast or easy, but it was necessary. I learned that family doesn't always mean safety. Sometimes, family can be the source of our deepest wounds. And that's when boundaries become life-saving. Protecting your peace isn't selfish, it's survival. The scars will always be there, but they no longer define me. I'm learning to trust myself again, to believe in love and kindness, not through others' actions but on my own terms. If there's one thing I want you to take away from my story, it's this: loyalty is a gift, but it shouldn't cost your happiness. Know when to fight, but also know when to walk away. Your self-respect is worth more than any broken promise or stolen jacket. I'm finally free, and maybe, just maybe, ready to trust again on my own terms.